Blog Talk Radio.
Golden years, but something out of place is here when the shadows come and her mind slips away. She'll speak of things that happened back in '57 and can't recall what happened yesterday. Tonight she looks around her, strangers that surround her. One lady calls her mom and starts to cry. The shadows keep returning, and as she nears her final journey, she drifts away and relives the young girl's life. Daddy, won't you saddle up my little Shetland pony? I'll ride across the field and visit Grandma Ida Mae. All my chores are done, and Mama says she doesn't need me. She's canning wild plum just, and I'll just be in her way. Not a battle of her choosing, but it's one that she's losing. They know she'll never make it through the night. Her loved ones gather round her. That's how the angels found her. She went smiling as she walked into the light. Daddy, won't you saddle up my little Shetland pony? I'll ride across the field and visit Grandma Ida Mae. Daddy, did you see the posters down at Wilson's grocery? Bob Wills is playing for his dad at the schoolhouse Saturday. These should have been her golden years, but something out of place was there. The shadows came, and there was no escape.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Paige Roberts Show. It is Wednesday, August the 1st, 2018. Tonight is our feature presentation with Miss Nurse Practitioner Alice. I'm going to try it. I'm going to say it wrong. Munyua. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
But I have been talking to Alice and once again Tammy Jernette Lewis.
Hello.
Hey Tammy, welcome back.
It's good to be back. Thank you for having us tonight.
You're welcome. I'm really interested in Alice's story. I know I told you I don't give a big introduction, so I want Alice to be heard because I know she probably has a lot of her story that I want everybody to hear. And so Tammy usually knows how I usually get started, but since I have questions here, it sure does help me. So I guess what we can do is maybe introduce yourself and then give us a little bit about your background history with what you do and maybe lead everybody into your story.
Okay. My name is Alice Munyua, and I'm a family nurse practitioner. That means I can diagnose and I can prescribe medication for people. I've been a nurse practitioner since 2001, but I spent most of my time in mental health, not being a nurse practitioner in mental health, but really being a psychiatric nurse. The reason why I did that is because I loved it so much. But then about 3 years ago, I switched over and I wanted to do medicine. So that is my background. But I've been a nurse because even though I'm a nurse practitioner, once a nurse, always a nurse. I've been a nurse for 26 years.
You said that right. Once a nurse, always a nurse.
And a nurse practitioner is like top of the line, isn't it?
Yes.
You think so? Look, we like to think so.
Yeah. Although you
Alan,
can have a PhD and do research, that is a little bit above. It's a PhD program. So a nurse practitioner is a master's program, but yes, it is top of the line.
Mm-hmm. So, Alice, how long have you been in the healthcare industry altogether? Did you start out as a nurse, or were you a caregiver before, or did you just go all the way through?
Yes, I actually started as a home health aide. So I used to go to people's homes and just help them with personal care. And then I decided I wanted to work in the hospital, so I became a nursing assistant. And from that, I kept on going, and today I'm a nurse practitioner, and I'm still not done yet.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm next.
What would be next? What would be next?
Well, it will be a PhD program, like Doctor of Nursing Practice, because I want to teach other nurses, because I believe nursing is a great profession. And right now, we don't have too many nurses in top of the line, you know. We need more nurse practitioners. We need more nurse educators. We need more nurse researchers, because healthcare, it really, if we had more nurses in top positions, healthcare would change.
I absolutely agree with you, and I believe that. And in psych, especially, psych and senior care is very much needed. How did you?
Yes.
You said you were in the hospital, so how did you get into psych? And I'm asking because I can remember my psych rotations, and I can remember thinking, yeah, this wouldn't be a good fit for me. So how did you get into psych?
Well, first of all, let me back up. How did I get into nursing? I never, ever dreamt of being a nurse growing up. I never knew any nurses in the family. I never wanted to be it wasn't one of my dreams. If you ask me when I was little, what did I want to do when I grew up? I wanted to be a teacher. Maybe because my dad was a teacher, I wanted to be a teacher. But then I came into this country, and I came back here in 1987 from Kenya, and there was a nursing shortage going on. And so I figured if I work as a nursing assistant, they will pay me more than they would do if I worked as a cashier, you know, in a grocery store or something.
Right.
So that's how I ended up into the nursing program. But then as a nursing assistant, I felt that I could do more. So I became a nurse. I went to school for nursing. But the doors just kept opening up for me in that area. And when I look back, I know God was opening the doors. I just didn't know why. Right. But now, how did I get into psych nursing? Back in 1 year before I finished my nurse practitioner program, there was a real big shortage at the Central Prison in North Carolina. They were paying nurses a lot of money to just go work there. And I found I was following the money trail. It was always about money.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going there. You know, they'll pay me more money to work there, so I'm going. So I found myself at Central Prison in North Carolina, and I was in the psychiatric department because that's where they needed most help. Well, a few days after working there, I just found myself loving it so much that when I even graduated as a nurse practitioner, I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to stay there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
but Central
I
Prison, well, Central Prison site. Yeah.
I just loved it. For me, it's like I found what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yes, and it has been 17 years since then.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us, because I know you came here tonight to talk about your book, and I'm really excited to talk about it and anxious to get into it. Tell everyone the name of your book. What's the title of your book?
Well, the title of my book is Bipolar. Bipolar, the subtitle is On the Throes of the Wild Kingdom.
Wow.
Because when you're going through something, mental illness, you feel like you're in the wild kingdom. And, and that's a term used a lot by people who work in that industry.
So for the people out there who may not understand bipolar or know what it means, can you just kind of brief us a little bit, bipolar? People say bipolar all the time, but do they really know what it means?
Do they really know?
Right.
My situation, I give the name my book Bipolar because that's the diagnosis I was given last year when I was going through something. That was the diagnosis I was given. But the way they did it kind of didn't. It wasn't quite the way it's supposed to be. But I'll give you the definition of bipolar. Bipolar is like, you know, when you do chemistry and you do atoms are either positive or negative. Bipolar is like that. You swing from a positive to a negative form of life. I would say the positive is where you're talking too much. You have a lot of energy. You are spending money you don't have. You are not sleeping. You are irritable. And the negative side.
Oh, Lord, you're scaring me. You're scaring me.
Yes, the negative side is when you all that energy is spent and you have nothing to give and you cannot get out of bed. So you swing from being manic, that's what they call it. Actually, years ago, they used to call it manic depressive because you're swinging from mania, where you have all this energy and you're not sleeping, to depression, where you don't have any energy to even get out of bed. So that's bipolar in a nutshell.
Okay.
And you can ask more questions about it if you want to.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your story, because in your book, you kind of switch roles on us a little bit. You go from being a nurse practitioner taking care of patients with mental illness to a patient. So tell us about that.
Right? My story, just last year, well, let me back up, because the way I had to do this book, the way I actually did it, last year I had panic attack. I was at work when it happened, and I came home, and for whatever reason, I could not sleep. And for 72 hours, I went without sleeping, just being anxious and fearful, and I didn't know where it was coming from. By the end, I was beginning to hallucinate, and I was seeing ghosts, and I was seeing things that other people were not seeing. I was hearing things that other people were not hearing, and I ended up in the hospitalized with some of my patients. In the unit that they took me, half of my patients that I've taken care of all these years was there. Like,
Wow.
since I went into psychiatric nursing back in 2001, like, I've known them since then. So they were my peers now. But when I did a root cause analysis about it, I had to go way back into when I came to this country, because that's the only way you would understand what I was going through. Back in nursing school, when I did my psychiatric rotation, I saw some people who were suffering from mental illness that I've never seen in my life. And because I grew up in a different country, and something like bulimia, anorexia nervosa, we never saw those kind of things in Africa.
Yeah.
Like, people eat when they have food. And you only see people who are malnourished if there's no food to eat. But people generally eat. So when I came to this country and people they were refusing to eat to a point that they are almost dying, that was unusual to me. So I wondered what caused it. And I kept asking questions. As time went on, I kept noticing that more kids are getting mental illness. We have ADHD. And now we have even more serious mental illness. We have schizophrenia among kids. We have bipolar among kids, which when I came here, that was not the case. But as time went on, I began to see more of it. And I kept asking questions. So I will go to someone and say, I grew up in Kenya. Did you ever see any kid who had ADHD in Kenya? And they would say, well, maybe, I think they were there. Maybe we just never noticed it. And I would say, no, I don't remember ever seeing it. Because in this country, I can tell you a kid has ADHD from a mile away. I've taken care of these children, and I know how difficult it is. So I started doing mission trips, and I'll go back to Kenya, and I'll go looking for ADHD, and I could never find it. I kept asking doctors over there, do you know what this disease is? And they didn't know either. So I started figuring something is up with this. And then just last year, or within the last 3 years, I began noticing something was off with the care we were giving. I would see we will get people ready to go home, discharge them thinking that they are well, and they'll come back to the hospital the following week. Some of them came back the next day. It's like a revolving door syndrome. So last year, about March of last year, that's when I realized that we were actually doing healthcare wrong. This is maybe 2 months before I got sick. So when I realized that, I was in the middle of writing my second book at the time. I started just getting this urgent feeling that I needed to finish the book. And I kept thinking, this book is really needed. This book is going to help people. So I became very, very excited about what I was beginning to discover, because mental illness is a mind disorder. But there's a little trick in there, because the way we look at it as a brain disorder. But and that's what I explain in the book. So I started writing my book, and then something happened in April of last year. And I can't get into the details of what happened because I'm not supposed to talk about stuff that happens at work. There is laws about mental illness. You can't go talking about people. You can't even talk about what you had or saw at work,
Right.
So this incident happened at work last year. And they called for a medical emergency, and I was the first person to respond. But when I went there, the damage that had been done by this individual was amazing. And he actually did it to himself intentionally, but I can't go into details of what they did.
Right.
So I was the first medical responder there. And I have this thing, I don't watch horror movies because if I do, I cannot sleep. And I know that they are horror movies, but for whatever reason, once they get into my mind, they bother me. I keep having dreams about it. And what this individual had done, what I didn't realize, even though I was very calm when I took care of him, when I went home, I could not sleep because of what they had done and what I had seen. It was like being in a war and taking the war home.
Wow.
And I knew something was wrong with what I had seen. That was not mental illness the way I know it. So this began to bother me in a big way. And I found myself not being able to sleep. So I can tell you the incident happened on April 20th. And between April 20th and when I had my panic attack, which was June 1st, I was only sleeping about 4 hours a day. 4 hours. Uh-huh. And so that's a period of six weeks or so. And, if you don't get enough sleep, most people do suffer from anxiety disorders. If you don't, sleep is so important. It is amazing. So June 1st, I'm in the middle of taking care of somebody else, and for whatever reason, I thought they were going to attack me and do what the individual on April 20th had done to themselves. I don't know why. I don't know where that was coming from, and I just couldn't take care of this person. So I got out of there, but I don't know if you know about panic attacks. You feel like you're dying, like you can't breathe. Mm-hmm. And I got out of there, and I don't have any family history of mental illness. Nobody in my family has ever had any mental illness. I don't have history of mental illness. And here I was, not being able to take care of someone because I'm having a panic attack, and I literally feel like I'm going to die. So I called my boss, and I asked, can I go home? And he said, sure. Go home. Are you safe driving? He said yes. So I went home. When I came home, I kept having waves and waves of panic attacks, and I could not tell you what was happening, where this was coming from. So I wasn't able. This happened on a Thursday. I wasn't able to sleep Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. I had like 4 hours of sleep from 7 to 11 o'clock. I woke up and I could not sleep anymore. Before long, I was outside walking on the streets in the middle of the night. And that's when the police was called, and I was taken to the hospital.
Oh, my goodness. So you were taken to the same hospital as the residents that you were caring for?
Well, no, it's not the same. It's not the hospital that I work at. But if you know anything about mental illness, because I told you that people don't get better, they rotate from different hospitals to different hospitals. Okay. Right. In the area that I live in, we have about 4 psychiatric hospitals now, and they are either an hour away from my home. I've worked all these years, 17 years, because we kind of like to change around, especially if they are state hospitals. You can transfer your job to a different hospital. So the patients also transfer the same way. It's like if they are discharged, let's say if they are found, they find a group home for them in a certain town, they get sick because they keep getting sick. They get taken to the hospital, the closest hospital. Okay. To that area. So they are always rotating from one hospital to another. So it's not unusual to go to this hospital and find somebody you took care of in another hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The hospital that I got taken to, 5 of my patients who knew me very well, and I knew them very well, were there. Also, I also told you that the nurses do the same thing. Actually, the doctors also do the same thing. We voted. If you feel like a certain hospital is giving more money, you change your job. If they're giving you better hours, you change your job. So it wasn't just the patients. Also, the nurses I had worked with, some of the nurses I had actually trained were my caretakers. They became my nurse now. Yeah, I was the patient.
So now you're seeing people that you've actually taken care of. So, I mean, how was that? I mean, because you're literally, did they think you were there to take care of them, or did they think you were there
Now, I cannot tell you what they thought, but I can tell you that they were very happy to see me. Is that strange? They were happy.
No,
they were happy to see me.
Wow.
One of them came and sat right next to me, and she said, "I am so glad you're here. Now I know you. Now I know you let me go home." I was like, "Let you go home? Don't you see I'm locked up too?" And they just couldn't believe it.
Oh.
Oh man, I bet that was something. So, but how did that make you feel, though? How did that make you feel?
Something. Huh?
How did that make you feel, though? Because now,
well, the first 2 days I was there, because I'm telling you, if you go through something like what I went through, I thought I was dreaming. I didn't think it was real. I kept thinking they're playing a trick on me. Somebody is playing a practical joke on me. Because, it's your mind that's messed up.
Right.
So you keep thinking. First of all, I could not believe that I was there. And, yes, I knew everybody. I knew all my patients. I knew all the staff members. And they, too, could not believe that I was there. I know one of the nurses I had trained, I oriented her in another hospital, another job. She cried when she saw me. She could not talk to me. It was sad in a way. But now when I look back, I think it was funny. But it wasn't funny then. So, what was your question again?
But don't you know God has a plan? No.
God has a plan. God has a big, big plan. Because, like I told you, I had realized 2 months before I was taken to the hospital, I already knew that we were not treating mental illness well. I already knew that. So for me to find myself there, number one, I was very upset with God. I was angry. I was like, how could you let this happen? But
he was showing you. Yeah, he was showing you.
Then I remember, if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't have been able to write this book the way I did. Because in going through that, I was able to understand the whole entire mental health, every disorder you can ask me what's going on, I can tell you today because I went through it. I went through all of it. So I think it was God's plan. You asked for it. I never envisioned how my prayer would be answered back. That I would actually have to go through it to understand it. So now I understand it.
Yeah.
So if I see somebody who is hearing voices, I know exactly where those voices are coming from, and I know how they can be stopped.
Because you can relate, because you've been there.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So with you being a nurse practitioner and this being your specialty, did they allow you to have any say-so in your treatment?
No. Absolutely not. The first day I was there, because I thought they were playing a joke on me. So I wanted to leave. And they decided that I was agitated. That's what they said. That I needed medication to calm down. So they tried to force me to take medication.
Oh, wow.
Yes. In the end, they gave up. But that's because I knew what was happening. I just didn't have any words to explain what was going on. But I knew what to say, and I knew how far to push them, and I knew when to do what I was being asked to do. So, but no, I did not have. I think on my third day when my brain began to clear up, on the third day, I tried to tell them what to do with me, what kind of medication they should give me, and I was told I'm a patient. I was told, well, you're not a nurse practitioner here. You are a patient, so you cannot decide what to get.
Oh, wow.
But you know all about that. I mean, they should.
I know, mind you, I know all the drugs. I knew every single drug, and I knew that the one that I had been prescribed was not the best, and it wasn't. And I suggested, why don't you give me such and such? And I was told, well, you're not a nurse practitioner here. You are a patient. And I also knew some of the things they said, like the diagnosis of bipolar. Number one, that was the wrong diagnosis for me. Because like I said, I knew what was going on. I just didn't have the vocabulary to tell you. And when they asked me questions, I saw that they were using the information I was giving them against me. It was like being in a court of law. Whatever you say and do can be used against you. So I stopped talking. And they thought they knew what was going on, but they didn't. But on my chart, they said that I had poor judgment and I had poor insight, which is totally wrong. Because nobody can tell you what's going on in your mind. Only you know what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I agree with that. But when I think back over your story, though, I feel like, I feel like you were there for a reason. I feel like that God may have put you there for a reason. But you had been up for 3 days.
I agree. I was there for 9 days, by the way.
How many days?
9 days.
Oh,
I thought I could go home the fourth day because they took me there on a Monday. By Wednesday, my brain had begun to clear up. But I still wasn't well enough. But, on Wednesday I could hold a conversation, a normal conversation with someone. On Thursday, I was back to my normal self on Thursday. So I thought they would let me go home Friday. But they didn't. I had to stay there the whole weekend. The following week, it didn't look like they wanted to let me go. And I don't know why. It seemed like the psychiatrist was trying everything to keep me there. But now on the 10th day, because the law says they can't keep you. See, I was committed, so I didn't. Unless the psychiatrist said I could go home, I could not go. So on the 10th day, the law says you can't hold someone for more than 10 days without going in front of the judge. Either the person wants to stay after the 10th day, or you have to go to court and prove in front of the judge that the person is a danger to themselves or to others. So they knew at this point.
I didn't realize you had to go through that.
I didn't either. So, I had no idea. I literally had no idea you could do that.
Yes, actually, after 72 hours, the psychiatrist has to prove that you have to be there. Sometimes after 72 hours, if you checked yourself in, like if you brought yourself to the hospital, you can sign yourself out within 72 hours. If you're well enough, after 72 hours, they can let you go. But if you're not well, even if you signed yourself in, the psychiatrist can actually commit you if they feel that you are a danger to others or to yourself. So, I mean, there are laws. But now, in my case, I was committed. I did not want to be there. So they kept me for 9 days. But on the 10th day, we had to go to court, and they knew they would lose because all my documentation, over the weekend I saw a different psychiatrist, and I know they put in good notes on my behalf. The nurses were also, they document every shift, what you're doing, what you're saying, so whether you're calm, whether you're speaking properly, like you're not speaking crazy, those kind of things. So there was no reason, she couldn't prove a reason to keep me in the hospital. But so she knew she would lose. So she let me go on the 9th day.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm learning something. So basically what you're saying is I could wake up one day and feel like I don't want to be here. So I'm afraid that I may do something to myself. So I'm going to walk over to Holly Hill or I'm going to go to the hospital. And you can walk in yourself.
Yes, they can't
and they can keep you there.
Yes. By the way, they are not supposed to turn you. Even if they didn't have beds, they will keep you there until they got a bed. Or they can transfer you to another hospital that has a bed. So they cannot turn you away. But now, if you take yourself to the hospital and after 72 hours, you feel good, you don't feel like you're gonna cure yourself anymore or murder somebody else, you can go home, no problem. But if you're saying stuff that makes them suspicious that you might do something, they have the power to hold you back and actually commit you. And now if they do that, if you check yourself in and they commit you after 72 hours, they can keep you for 9 days. If they keep you for 10 days, then you have to go to the judge, and the judge will have to decide whether you stay in the hospital or you go home. The judge has the power to tell the doctor to send you home.
But I don't know how I even feel about that since you said that, because, I mean, is the judge reading 9 days worth of a chart, or is the judge just sitting there talking to you for a few minutes? What if this is truly someone who needs to be in a facility and the judge talks to him for like 5 minutes and he's like, oh, no, let him go, but this is someone who's really a danger to himself or herself or others? How does that work?
Well, actually, the judge, I think they are trained how to assess people just by the things they see you do in court. So they when you talk to the judge, when you talk to, because they ask you a few questions. You're just not gonna get away without answering some questions. The way you answer the questions, you have to be able, you have to prove that you're not a danger to yourself. So yes, the judge, they're trained how to look out for that.
Yeah, how do you do that?
If you start talking too much, the judge can tell you to be quiet, to shut up. And say no. And the judge can commit you for 90 days or 60 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, but when you go to when you go before the judge, you have to know what you're talking about, because you can get a longer commitment than the psychiatrist would commit you.
Now, in these facilities, how young are the people that come there? Are they just adults, or are there children?
Oh, they're children, but they don't house the children and the adults in the same unit.
Okay.
So when they took me to the hospital, they usually take you first to the crisis center. And at the crisis center, they observe you. You're being observed either on camera or they're just looking at you to see what you're doing. And that's when they decide, should we let this person go home or not? I guess the things I was saying at the crisis center, but it's still in the same hospital. The things I was doing and saying made them decide that this is not the same person we know, and she needs to be committed. And yes, in the crisis center, we had children also. But once they decide to admit the kids go to their own unit, and they have elementary school kids, they have middle school in different units, and they have adolescents in different units. And once you turn 18, you're considered an adult. The same day, you're transferred to an adult unit. The same day you turn 18. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think your story is absolutely amazing, and I don't know how you were able to cope with that, especially being in the industry already, you know?
Okay. It was very difficult, but one thing that helped me cope was my faith in God, because I know what God says. God says He's given you a sound mind. And I knew something was wrong, and I knew what was wrong, and that's what I talk about in the book. But my faith in God made me know that this too would pass, and I was gonna go home. But at the same time, you said that was, somebody said God wanted me to go through that for a reason, right? I think his page should say that. Well, by the time I left the hospital, because I had taken enough notes for the book, so I knew I was going to write this book by the time I left the hospital. Because of the information I already had, I consider my hospitalization became a gift to me. So now I look at it as a gift. Yes.
Wow. So was it your hospital stay that made you decide to write this book, or had you already began writing the book before?
No, I was writing my second book, which is Think and Grow Healthier, a balance between spirit, mind, and body. So I was in the mind section. That's when I actually realized that we were not doing the mental illness properly. So I was writing my second book. I had no idea I would write the book we are talking about now. But when I left the hospital, because I kept writing what I was thinking about, what I was seeing, new things that I was discovering. And believe me, in those 9 days, I had discovered so much. I had learned so much about mental illness, more than the 17 years I had worked in that industry. So I wrote the book. I wrote the book on a composition book. They had gave me a composition book. And usually most people don't even write anything. But I kept asking for pieces of paper. They got annoyed with me and gave me a composition book. Right.
Well.
So, yeah.
Nice. Well, I did have a chance to look through your book, and in your book you kind of talked about how you differentiated between the brain and the mind as if they were supposed to be treated differently. Like when you're treating a psych patient, you're supposed to, or a mental health patient, that you treat them differently. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yes. Right now, and this is where I knew that we were treating mental illness bad. Mental illness means a disease of the mind, your thinking part. The way we look at the mind today, we use it interchangeably with the brain. We say the mind, the brain, and people use them interchangeably as if it's the same thing, and those are two different things. Your mind is different, and your brain is different. The mind influences the brain. So is that good enough? But in the book, I go into more details.
Yeah, keep going. I'm listening.
Okay, so we tell people that they have a chemical imbalance when they have mental illness, especially in something like bipolar. I mean, people who are creative, and most people who are in the creative industry, like musicians, movie actors, they get ideas. And when you start working on an idea, or most artists, even somebody like Mozart, Van Gogh, when he was painting, they used to say that he was manic. Because when you're in that creative mode, ideas are coming, and sometimes if you don't take a break to get away from that, you can stimulate your mind so much that your mind stimulates your brain. The brain is an organ. The brain is a production factory. You don't think with your brain. You think with your mind. So if you don't take a break and go to sleep, you can produce so much chemicals. One of the chemicals that people produce is dopamine. And if you have too much dopamine, you will start hallucinating if you're producing too much of it. If you're not sleeping, you will start seeing things and you start hearing voices. That it just goes with the territory. And that's why I keep going back to mental illness, especially bipolar. Bipolar is a lack of balance. But at the same time, I will put a disclaimer there because I know people are listening. I am not telling anybody to stop taking their medication.
Please, nobody stop taking anything.
Yes. If you're taking medication for bipolar, please keep taking it. But you need to get my book so you know what to do after that. This is not a disease, and I'm going to say that because I know it's not.
But don't you think some of the psychotic drugs, don't you think they sometimes intensify or brings on bipolar a lot more?
I didn't get the question. Can you repeat it?
I was saying, don't you think some of the psychotic drugs that they are prescribing nowadays, though, don't you think that can enhance bipolar, or, you know?
No. But I do go into the drugs a lot. They can't. Drugs can actually not. They can't cause anything. I mean, they can cause some other chemical imbalance, but they wouldn't cause you to be mentally ill. Drugs cannot do that because the human mind, and I'm going to say this and I might get pushback on this from some people, the human mind cannot be treated with a pill. You cannot treat the human mind with a pill. You cannot do research on the human mind. That is impossible for any human being to do that. But we treat the brain, thinking that the brain is the mind, but the brain is not the mind. But now back to the medication. The medication can actually cause a chemical imbalance in your brain. And you could be taking something, let's say you're taking something for schizophrenia. Let's say you're on something, Cyprexa for schizophrenia. Cyprexa will cause other side effects. So if you're beginning to have side effects from Cyprexa, they will give you another pill to stop the side effects. But at the same time, it's causing another chemical imbalance that the schizophrenia you were trying to treat in the first place may come back because of all these chemicals you're being given. So it can cause a chemical imbalance. And, yes, you can have the symptoms because of the medication you're taking, but it's complicated. But I have made it very, very simple in my book because I actually went through that. And I gave an example. I gave an example of Cyprexa because even though I had bipolar, and most times bipolar is treated with lithium, a mood stabilizer. Or that's what they call it, but you know, I get into that in my book in details. I was given Cyprexa because Cyprexa now can treat psychosis and it can treat bipolar. And 1 week after being discharged, I was having like the worst side effects you could imagine. So I called my psychiatrist, the one I was sent to upon discharge, and they could not see me that week. And here I am. I can't even do anything. I was having muscle cramping of the worst kind. Like I was in so much pain just from taking this one drug. So I went to my primary care physician, and she was scared. She didn't want to touch anything. She was like, I don't want to change anything. I don't want to do anything. She was just scared to death about having to deal with somebody who has mental illness. So I had to tell her what to do. Now, I'm the patient, and I was telling her what to do. So I told her, prescribe this drug for me because if you don't do it, I'm going to stop taking this medication. And she didn't want that either. So she's prescribed another drug for me, and I brought it home. But when I brought it home, I had to stop all that craziness. But I would never tell anybody else to do that because I quit taking the medication. To me, at that point, it didn't make any sense. I was in too much pain. And I also knew it was a medication I didn't need. But I would never advise anybody to do that. I would always tell you to find a psychiatrist that will work with you to either change your medication or get off the medicine because you can get off the medicine. And, yes, you can cure mental illness.
Wow.
Yes.
So I have a question. Okay, so what if somebody decided to just stop? Can you just stop? Does it need to be
it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and that's why I would never advise anyone to do that because when they're giving you these drugs, these are chemicals they're giving you, and they do change your brain chemistry. So if you take matters into your own hands and do like I did, without the knowledge of what you're doing, you can actually end up in a very, very bad place. You might end up being taken back to the hospital. Your chemical imbalance may be so bad that they might not even be able to. You could do something dangerous. So I would say to find a competent doctor and have them wean you off, because you're supposed to taper it down, and finally get you off the medication. So stopping the medication on your own is dangerous. You could even die.
Okay.
It's that bad.
That was actually a question that I had that someone sent to me, and she is on medicine for her ADHD and antidepressant, and she's been going through one physician, and she's recently had to change physicians because of the insurance, and the physician. The new physician told her that she should not be taking these two medicines together because they contraindicate. But at the same time, I wouldn't tell anybody to just do it on their own. You need somebody who knows what they're doing to help you wean you off these medications, because you might stop and then have a really bad reaction, and you wouldn't want to do that. And in my book, that's another thing I had to do. I had to, for most disorders, I had to put resources of where you can get help for different conditions. So I put that in there. Good. Her concern is the new doctor. She has 2 days left of these medications. The new doctor will not prescribe them because she says they contraindicate each other. So that she won't do it. So her question is, should she go back to her old physician and see if he'll prescribe them, or should she try to get the new doctor to taper her off of one or both of them?
I would go to the old one. Whoever can see her fast to go there. If she only has 2 days left, because they might be able to prescribe. I don't know how long they've been taking this medication. I don't know what it is, number one. And I know if you just stop, they can cause problems. I know that. So I would say whoever doctor can see her to quickly go there, because maybe they can lower the dose and take her off. That is the best way to get off the medication, is to have somebody supervising what's going on.
Okay. Okay. She says thank you.
Yes, always. The reason why I did what I did is I knew what I was doing, because I'm a medical provider, and I also knew, should I have any symptoms, I knew what to watch for, and I knew I could go back to the doctor, or I could go to the emergency room should I feel something. So I knew what I was looking for, and I knew what to expect. And the other thing, I had not taken medication for too long. It was about maybe at this point, it was maybe 10 days worth of medication. So it was not in my system that much.
Okay. So were you one of those bad residents that refused your medication because you felt like you didn't need it?
The first 2 days, yes, I did. The first 2 days. But see, that's when I thought they were playing a trick on me. So I didn't know for real that I was actually committed. I knew, but I thought it was a joke. So I refused to take any medication. But by the third day, I knew just from being there, I knew you had to do the right thing. If you want to be discharged, you have to do the right thing and you have to say the right things. So I knew those two. So I started taking it. I said, well, I know I don't need it, but I'll take it because I want to go home.
Yeah. Okay, I have another question, Ms. Alicia. How long does it take for the medications to get into your system?
Well, it depends on what it is you're taking. I would say the psychiatric medications, they work very quickly, because now we have newer drugs. They are called the atypical antipsychotic. So within 72 hours to 5 days, you should see some changes. Some of them work even faster, because some of them might give you side effects, like Howdo. If you take it for even 2 days.
Oh, my goodness, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Howdo is actually very quickly. It's quick acting.
Yeah,
that's the one we give people when they are when they are very aggressive, and it's an old drug. It works very good. Cyprexa works within 24 hours, so it all depends on what you're taking. Now, the medication for depression, that takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to start seeing anything. That's what they say. Now, I have my own opinion about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe we literally, we're down to 5 minutes. Man, that hour went by really fast. And Paige, I know I've kind of just bogarted the whole conversation.
I wish I had set it for about another 30 minutes. Cause
No, I still had questions coming in, but that was why I was asking.
Really?
I'm on Facebook, and I have questions that are coming in from one of the groups that I posted to, so I had questions that were coming in, so that's why.
well, we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it again. We can do it again later on.
Okay.
Yes, we can. We can. Mm-hmm. And we can send all those
Alice,
questions. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Your
Alice,
book will release.
I'm sorry?
Your book will release, and so you'll have a lot more probably after that to talk about too. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually ask me questions about anything. There's nothing. The whole DSM-5, which is what the psychiatrists use, the psychiatrists use, I know it inside and out, so I can answer any question.
Thank you for that. Now, I know your book is coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us when your book is set to release, although I have a copy, so nobody can be jealous, but yes, I got the first copy.
It is set to come out September 1st is when we're going to launch it. September 1st.
Okay.
And it is a piece of I would say it's a piece of good news. It is actually a good hope.
It is. It's really a good book, and it holds your attention. It has a lot of information in it.
Yes.
Okay, so your book is set to release September 1st. Now, you're going to have a book launch.
Yes.
You're going to have a book launch on that Saturday, September 1st, that Saturday. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Now,
and it will be on Facebook
Live.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that information readily available?
Yes, I can send the flyer to Miss Page. Maybe she can post it on her website.
Okay.
Yes.
But the launch is actually the day of September 1st, correct?
Yes. Between 3 and 5.
Between 3 and 5?
We also
and
will have it on Facebook Live.
Okay, we'll be doing Facebook Live. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes. And let us know.
What is the location?
I didn't hear the question. And
do you have the location of the book launch?
Yes, it will be on the flyer. It is the Emmanuel Community Anglican Church in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
Ooh, the address. The address I can't tell you what the address is right now,
okay.
but I will have it on the flyer.
We'll get you the address. We'll get the address and get to the listeners later. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's September 1st, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Awesome.
Yes.
And if you guys want to follow Alice, you can follow her on social media and also purchase books through her social media sites, and that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Alice Munyua, F as in family, N, nurse, P, practitioner. So that's Alice Munyua, FNP, on all her social media sites. And Alice, thank you so much again for coming on the show tonight. We've enjoyed having you, enjoyed hearing about your story, and we look forward to everything else that you have to come.
Yes. Can I say one more thing, though?
Yeah.
Why I'm coming out with this information is because people have a stigma for people who have mental illness, and nobody is immune. If you call yourself a human being, you can be mentally ill any minute.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Alice, again. Thank you again, Paige, for having me on the show, and thank you to all of the listeners tonight. And I'm pretty sure Paige will be back next week, right here, same time, same place. That's like
same always.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Should be her golden years, but something out of place is here when the shadows come and her mind slips away. She'll speak of things that happened back in '57 and can't recall what happened yesterday. Tonight she looks around her, strangers that surround her. One lady calls her mom and starts to cry. The shadows keep returning, and as she nears her final journey, she drifts away and relives a young girl's life. Daddy, won't you saddle up my little Shetland pony? I'll ride across the field and visit Grandma Ida May. All my chores are done, and Mama says she doesn't need me. She's canning wild plum jelly, and I'll just be in her way. Not a battle of her choosing, but it's one that she's losing. They know she'll never make it through the night. Her loved ones gather round her. That's how the angels found her. She went smiling as she walked into the light. Daddy, won't you saddle up my little Shetland pony? I'll ride across the field and visit Grandma Ida May. Daddy, did you see the poster down at Wilson's grocery? Bob Wills is playing for his dad at the schoolhouse Saturday. These should have been her golden years, but something out of place was there. The shadow